and gentlemen, and welcome to The Page, Season 2, The Block, Lee Bardugo, the Grisha trilogy, Part 2. That's right, Part 2, Siege and Storm. And guys, I'm really excited. Oh my god. Oh boy. Oh my god. But before we go in, oh boy, Cookie Monster in the sky. But before we go get into it, I have to announce my co-host, as always, joining me for these for this show. The beautiful, the talented, the mystical, the magical, the whimsical LB.
Thank you, Caveman. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I gotta say, I have been keeping count of the amount of complimentary words that you used to introduce me.
Oh.
And it's dropped.
I know. I mean,
to 5.
I know. Last time it was like 6 or 7.
What's going on here? We're gonna have to negotiate my contract.
Yeah. So that I just lose track.
It's okay.
Yeah. Oh my god, I'm so excited!
I'm being silly.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
I know you're super stoked.
Oh my god! Oh boy! So
you know what? I was actually gonna read it over again too.
Yeah.
So it was fresh in my brain as well.
Yeah.
But literally, I woke up today and I was like, oh, it's Friday.
Yeah.
So I only got partway through the second time over again because it was just, I don't know, my week got away from me.
Yeah. But before we go into it, we have a lot of new members in the group. So if you guys don't know how this works, me and LB, spoiler alert, you have been warned. We're gonna spoil the shit out of this book. I mean, I don't know how I can't.
We're gonna talk about stuff that we shouldn't talk about. Otherwise, you're gonna know what happens in the book.
Yeah.
So if you haven't read the book, go read it.
Yeah, go read it. It's okay. Go read it, and then come back, and this episode will still be here. We're gonna talk about our positives and negatives in the way of check marks and X's, and then after, we're either gonna give this book a recommend or not recommend. The history section is not going to be as long. If you do want a refresher course, go watch the episode when we talked about this trilogy when we did with the first book, Shadow and Bone. So we're just going to jump into it. We're going to jump into our check marks first, and I'm going to pass it to LB as much as I would like to kick it off.
Honestly, I want to say you go first because you're bursting at the seams. Please, go. Do your check mark.
The ending is... Oh my god! It has to be, for me, one of the best endings. Like, fuck YA. One of the better endings I have ever read in novels. One of the to cliffhanger. One of the better endings I have read. It had me. Lee Bardugo had me. And I didn't know what was going to go on. I thought, oh. So the third book is all going to be about the Darkling coming out and taking siege to because that's what it was like it was shaping up, right? And then shit goes down, and I'm like, okay, and then more shit goes down, and I'm like, oh, I like this, right? And then they go into the chapel, and I'm like, and then before they can get out, I'm like, oh, they're gonna get out, and then the book's just gonna end. And and it doesn't even end there. The Darkling comes out, and he's like, yeah, I'm here, and I'm like, okay, I have no idea what's gonna happen now. And Alina's like, okay, I'm gonna go with him because I need to save you guys. And she goes. And I'm like, is that? I mean, I like it. If that's how the book's going to end with them leaving, I kind of like that. But no, they kiss in front of Mal, and they say, and the Darkling's like, your power's mine. And then she's like, so is yours. And then she goes, again, your power is mine as well. And she just starts ripping the soul from his heart. And I'm like, what's happening? Right? And I'm like, is that how this book's going to end? With, like, her taking him out? And I'm like, if that's how it ends, then I kind of like that idea, right? Her taking her, and the book is just kind of the aftermath of that, right? Like, everything's in ruin. But it doesn't end like that. It ends in the only way I could describe it is a Empire Strikes Back kind of way, where she is crippled because of what she'd done to him, right? And we don't know what's gonna happen. She's in bed. She just and she's going through this inner monologue, and I have to say, I kind of like it. I absolutely love the ending to this book. I thought it was gonna end at certain points. It didn't. It kept going on, and I'm like, oh no, what is Lee Bardugo's gonna be? What is she gonna? But it ends in a way that you don't predict. Like, I don't care if the best writer in the world reads this book the first time. If they say they totally predict the ending, they are dead wrong. They are lying. We call that. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I think it was executed beautifully. And it's one of the better endings I have ever read in a YA novel. For a cliffhanger. One of the better endings. Because you don't know now what's going to happen. It's an Empire-esque ending. And I don't recall a better ending that can be attributed to an end of a novel like this. Like, you could say a lot about other novels, right? And people like to call back to Empire Strikes Back because obviously that's the best cliffhanger, right? But this is as close as you can say because now the good guys lost. The bad guys, you don't know what happens to him. You don't know what's going to happen to her. She's literally like a frail shell of a person. Her powers don't work. Everything's like destroyed around. And it's like, that's an awesome fucking ending. So that's my first check mark. The ending is just, mwah! I love the ending. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not crazy about the ending. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not mad about it. It didn't irritate me. I really don't like cliffhangers.
But you need one though. You need one for the
cliffhangery way.
Yeah.
The reason why I get pissed off with cliffhangers because it's like you do this whole big story and you have a complete story in a book.
Yeah.
And then you can go and you can pick up the next book and it's a continuation of that universe and whatever's happening.
Yeah.
You know? And it just, I know it doesn't make any sense because everybody does it. And I realized this today.
But not to this.
Like, you know what? It ends in a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad about it. And I realized I have to start kind of, well, not start being okay with, but I have to be like, okay, so here are the tropes in a fantasy book or in these books. Not all the books you read are going to be these outliers that have, you know, like, oh, there is no love triangle or there is no this. It's like, okay, so this is the trope. This is the trope that showed up. Did they do it well or not? Did they do it in a way that was really fucking frustrating, or is it just frustrating because it's a trope?
I would,
you know?
Yeah, I would argue though. I would argue, like you said, this is an outlier where they take all those tropes away, though, and they totally make you.
What, do you mean the book itself?
No. The typical like love triangle stuff like that. She makes you think that that's where it's heading, and she definitely sprinkles in false possibilities like the Phoenix, and I think the Phoenix is going to have something to do with the third book.
Well, the Phoenix is the next book.
Yeah, but
it's got it on the cover.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, yeah. So it's going to play a part in the third book. But the way I like it, it's the ending doesn't follow any of the typical YA narratives. And that's why, to me, it was so refreshing. Like, you literally don't know what's going to happen now. You literally are led down one possibility and then another and then another. And then she adds a spoon to it. And she goes, no, this is where we're going. Where it's a Empire Strikes Back ending where everything is destroyed. Everybody's scattered. The good guys, you don't know what's going to happen. It just, to me, that's why it was so good. She took all those tropes and threw it away.
Okay. I don't agree with you, but I'm not going to argue it.
Okay. All right. I mean,
just because, like, it's clear that you're, like, so adamant about this, but, like, I see that there are tropes in it, and, like, the story itself, it's very much, like, couple gets recaptured by the villain, manages to escape, gets helped out by this mysterious stranger who turns out to be a prince. Oh, no. And, like, they even, like, it's kind of, it's almost self-referential in the tropes that they use in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying she does them badly. I'm just saying that they definitely are present. Like anyway, we're not getting into X's now, which is why I was like, I'm not crazy about the ending, but it also doesn't piss me off. So which is saying something. If it's a cliffhanger and it doesn't piss me off,
I'm not
that's
like,
a good thing.
I'm not going to argue in the beginning of the books, like, we're not in our X's, but there are some tropes there. Like, I will agree. But
oh god, yeah,
the ending doesn't subscribe to those tropes. Like, I would argue the opposite of the ending. I don't recall a book.
The bad guy, and now they're journeying.
No, you don't know what's going to happen now. She's crippled. She's crippled. What? You have this weird cult that's praising her. All their army is destroyed, and it puts this in a weird place where, like, what's going to happen next? You don't know what's going to happen.
Well, they're going to go to the cult and they're going to, like, gain her powers back somehow, and somehow they're going to find
right, but we're not
personally, like, it doesn't smack of, like, crazy originality, but it's not done badly.
Yeah.
Like, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That I'm not, like, I'm not going to agree that it's this awesome original idea, because it's not.
It's totally not. Like, this
but
has
it's done
been
really well.
I guess I'm trying to say is this is not original. Like, this has happened before, and I understand. What I'm saying, it's the best that I have read of it, of somebody doing this type of thing, where they lead you on a path where, like, she totally had me. Like, I was like, okay, is this where the book's going to end, right? And she waited to the last couple of chapters before she kind of smacked you, right, in the gut. And even then, she didn't smack you fully. She smacked you about, like, 5 times. And, this, for me, at least, it's really refreshing for this to happen in a YA novel.
Mm-hmm.
Because the easy trope would have been, them and Mal getting back together, them pushing back the Darkling, that was where it looked like it was heading. But she said, no, I'm going to go left when you think I'm going to go right. And that's why I like the ending. It was, for me, I never saw this coming. She just lulled me so hard that when the ending was coming, and I'm like, oh boy, oh my god. So that's my first check mark. So I'm going to pass it over to you.
My first check mark, you know what? My first check mark here, I have it all written out differently, but the one that comes to mind the most is the difficulty within the, like, Genya friendship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With her as a tailor. And, like, she's presented as this complex character, which is amazing because, you could have this character in the novel and still have, like, significance or whatever, and not have her be as complex. You could write her very bland, but they don't. And they give her some hard choices. And I think it's really interesting how, Alina, she looks back to this friendship. She's like, well, it was a friendship, but it's like, but she wasn't being a friend to me.
Yeah.
Like I can't trust her. However, they're trapped within this system, and she's been living in this system. And even, I don't know if you got this with your audiobook, but in mine, there was a little excerpt at the end that was not of the next book. Well, I had that too, but there was one that was written from Genya's perspective.
Oh, no, I didn't get that. I didn't get that.
Yeah. It's just like a one chapter kind of thing. Or no, not one chapter. It's called The Tailor.
Okay.
And it's like sort of, it's just the perspective of Genya, and they have a couple scenes. But yeah, no, I just thought it was interesting. Yeah, so it basically covers like her inner turmoil with the letter to Mao, because that was like a big betrayal.
Yes.
And so it sort of takes us through her inner turmoil for that, because she's like, okay, well, I'm serving a higher purpose. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do these things, and it addresses, not necessarily complex, but it addresses like a complicated issue that was brought up in the first book of like, okay, she didn't come into her powers until she was like, you know what? I cannot take that right now. What the fuck?
Hello?
Sorry. I just had someone randomly call me from a place that shouldn't be calling me. Very weird.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We all know this happens. We all know this happens with you. Yeah. Your witching powers.
My witchery. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Yeah, but so with the Mao letters and like Alina, she didn't come into her powers until she fully was like, you know what? I need to be myself. I can't keep on hanging on to the past like this. Blah 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 blah. And she actually was able to like activate her powers and engage in them. This actually ties into another checkmark that I have. So I'm gonna get into that later. But I just thought the friendship that was presented there, even as Alina is like in captivity and Genya's like trying to look out for her.
Yeah.
And like, there's this moment on the ship where it's like, well, she's not shooting them, like keeping her from getting away.
Yeah.
But she's also not going with them.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like there's this woman who's being abused her whole life.
Yeah.
She's been like sexually abused by the king, and there's also like a whole bunch of other abuse and like the slavery kind of stuff that goes on with the Grisha verse. It's all crazy, right?
Right.
So it's just like she's trying to make these decisions, and you also have at the end, which is something I did really like about the end as well, is you have Genya join the party. As they're walking away from it, like she got out of the rubble somehow.
Yeah.
And Alina's just like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like, I will, like, she has enough insight to be like, I'm not okay with this now.
Yeah.
But I would definitely not be okay with it if I said it wasn't okay for her to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she may be a shitty friend, but she's still a friend kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting because you don't really get to see those complex relationships.
Yeah.
Period. In YA and in fantasy fic. Because I think a lot of it is like about the plot and what's happening there and like all this crazy stuff is happening.
Yeah.
But amidst all that, they've really created this complex relationship that brings up concerns that don't actually have black and white answers to, which I like. I love that it's this thing that you can't say. It's like, oh yeah, well that's a shitty friendship. It's like, yeah, it is a shitty friendship. However, like what is she working with, right? So I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that presentation of that friendship and just how that is continued across as well into this book. Yeah. So that's my first major check mark. I really enjoyed that.
I agree with you. I really like the gray in that relationship. There's a lot of gray.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
There's a lot of gray in here.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
definitely think that's intentional.
yeah, and I think again, I can't. I just that's one of the reasons why I love the book so much. I guess
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
we how many times have we on this show talked about YA novel that we're reviewing, and we're talking about the tropes that the book decides to do. But in
Yeah.
this second book, it Lee Bardugo is saying, "Nah, I'm not going to do
Yeah.
that."
Like, she engages in
Yeah.
the trope, but she doesn't do it in a way of like, oh, this thing and they
Yeah.
are good and this
Yeah.
thing and they are bad. It's like, no, this is a trope in a story.
Yeah.
However, these are real people and real scenarios
Yeah.
in there, so we're going to treat it like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I say, tropes are there, but they're done well.
Yeah. And also, this one my second. This is going to be my second check marks. The books.
Mm-hmm.
This is for me. This is just like a minor thing, but this is a check mark. When Alina punches Sturmhahn, that was so funny. Like,
yes,
because at
yes,
the
it was definitely like, yeah.
it's like, and I punched him. Next chapter, and I'm like, oh. Yes! Yes! That was so good. The comedic timing in that, in the comedic, there's a lot, there's rarity in narrative stories like this because you're reading it, right? And there's no comedic timing in the way that you can read it. And there's no way, there's not.
Like there is, right?
Yeah, there's not really a way of authors that can.
Situation,
yeah.
Right? So it's situational.
But it's like it's not like when you're watching it, right? And people can have their cues and like that. It's like you could read a certain scene slowly or fast, and depending on it, where you're like, oh, that scene didn't work for me. That scene didn't work for. But the way it worked for me.
I will argue on this.
Okay.
Only because I'm being pedantic.
Okay, yeah. The way it worked for me is
you create rhythms with how you write.
Yeah, for sure.
You can have a huge long run-on sentence and then finish it and then have a 3-word sentence and that's that's a
oh, for sure. But
right?
what?
Like it's, you know what I mean? So you are creating timing in a sense.
Yeah.
However, I completely agree with you. I know.
But I'm just saying, for me, I've never read a novel where I'm like, oh. It's so subjective, though. Comedy is so subjective. But I think the ending of one of the chapters, and she's like, and I punched him. Next chapter. And I'm like, all right. That's pretty good. All right. That's pretty good. I enjoyed that. And just the relationship they have to Sturmhahn, where they're like always wanting to punch him. And they're like, and Lena's like, and then Mal's like, I can't believe you did that because you wanted to do it. Yes, I wanted to do it. That's a minor check mark, but that's a check mark nonetheless. I like that. I thought that was cheeky. So that's my one. Your next check mark?
Yeah, you know what? I love that part. And I think it's interesting because in these moments that we see, obviously, oh my God, I'm going to sound so stupid. But in these moments that we see of the character, they're formative moments.
Yeah.
Right? Like, is Alina a person who's just going to swallow her temper and be frustrated with someone? Or is she the person that's going to snap and punch someone in the face?
Yeah.
Is it like, what kind of person is she?
Yeah.
So that answers that question. I think, actually that goes into one of my other points that I want to make. So one of my next check marks that I have is, and I know we've talked about this before with, I can't remember, it was a while ago. Anyway, but the representation of like CPTSD with the Darklings, like showing up as they go around and how, she's pushed beyond what she wants to do.
Yeah.
And she is very vocal about that. She's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think I can do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't think I can do this. And then they get there, and she can't fucking do it, and like the Darkling pops up right at the worst moment.
Yeah.
And then they come out of it, and they crash, bing, back, boom, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, first off, it shows like, I really liked how they had Sturmhorn be like, no, she said she couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then I made us go over there, and then she couldn't do it.
Yeah.
This is my fault.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's like, damn right it is, man.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting how they present it, because she's like questioning her sanity in a way, and then she also like accepts it.
Yeah.
Partway through, because that's what you kind of have to do in order to stay sane as an insane person. You're like, okay, well, this is my normal, so I'm just gonna have this be a thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I like how the question is left open of like, was that a magical thing, or was she just like fucking traumatized?
Yeah.
Like, you know, we don't know. And I like how it's sort of left open like that. It is answered a little bit, because he said, you know, he was saying how he alludes to something, and it's like, oh my God, you were actually there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's so much him like maybe mind reading, or actually being there but not being there, or being in her brain and not, like, it's weird.
Yeah.
And I like how it's left open. I like how it's presented that way, and I thought it was well done. It was it added into her character. It drove the plot too, because that was something like, she's fucking struggling, and she's having a hard time with it. She's having a hard time even accepting it.
Yeah.
And she's trying to communicate with Mal, her partner, and she can't tell him.
Yeah.
She's like, well, if I say this, he's going to react this way. And she's not wrong, because he probably would react that way. You know, so I liked how they had that in there, and it drove the plot forward. It made sense. And it left some questions open as well. I thought it was really cool. I really enjoyed that part.
I enjoyed that part too. The next check mark I have is Stormhorn. I absolutely love this character. I didn't know where she was going with this character at first. There was a lot of mystery to Stormhorn for me, right? Mm-hmm. And he is this like typical like prince, but he's not typical in like YA sense, where he comes across like now Prince Charming, and that he's very snarky. He's a smartass. He's, you know, he has so many layers to him.
That he's a smartass.
Yeah.
And he's snarky. I'm sorry, but that's totally true.
Yeah, but the way it's portrayed in the book, that it comes across very natural and not forced, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
it just comes in
like
very natural, and you know, there's one scene I love. They're in the tent and they were gonna punch him. It's like, no. Hear me out. We should get married, and she should have my children. And I'm like, oh, dude, I love that. Without blinking, and then Mao's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking kill him. I'm gonna wring his neck. And I love that moment. How he doesn't, like, he just assumes that she's gonna say yes and all this stuff's gonna happen. And I'm like, and he's like, why aren't you saying yes? Why are you being upset about this? Because and I love the Blink honesty in that. I love the honesty. I love the smart assery to that character. I like the cockiness, how it's portrayed so honestly, and it's from my perspective, it comes off honest. It doesn't come off forced. I never thought it was forced. This is what
I say with, like, the trope is there, but it's done well, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, the love triangle, like, mysterious stranger turning out to be a prince and proposing to the person who already has a love interest is very much a trope, and like, I'm gonna return to that later.
Yeah.
But I agree with you in that he's presented in a way that's believable. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, here's our plot device walking along here now.
Yeah.
Like he's presented in a way that is believable. So
And
I appreciate that.
I found the reveal very good too. It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like and then Mel's like, and Mel and Mel and Alina's like, I'm going to punch him now.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And that's the thing where she also presents this trope, but from my perspective, it's not really executed. She doesn't really go for it. She just introduces it. She makes you think this is what's going to happen. And then she goes, yeah, no, this is not what's going to happen. And that's, for me, partly why I love the book. So that would be my my next check mark. Pass it over to you.
Yeah. My next check mark, I've got a couple of here, and I don't know what I want to say. Yeah, you know what? My next check mark is it's kind of a 2-for-1. But I love the characters of Tamar and Tolia.
Yeah.
I love those characters.
Yeah.
They're like, you know, they're outcasts turned pirates, turned like royal guard, turned like acolyte kind of thing. Like they're very multivaried. I wish I kind of saw a little bit more of them because, to be honest, I kind of got confused between them and I would have liked a little bit more of it.
Yeah.
However, I feel like those two characters are definitely going to come out more in the next book. Mm-hmm. So I'm okay that they didn't get developed as much.
Yeah.
They still felt like real characters. I loved it. And what I enjoyed about them is this idea of, you know, the outcast Grisha, or like the underground Grisha, if you will, because that was sort of the thought there that I had in the first book. It's like, okay, so there's these Grishas that just exist in humanity, right?
Yeah.
Like they just pop up. It's not like you can be from a different place, but a lot of them end up coming to Ravka because they're treated better, right? Because they're put on a pedestal almost, right? However, as we see sort of the inner workings of it, it's very much slavery as it is, you know, like okay, so this is your talent now, okay, you're going to come and you're going to do this job because that's your talent and you don't have an option.
Yeah.
And you go there when you're a child and you get removed from your parents and it's like this whole big thing. So of course there's going to be sort of a group of people that don't want to participate in that.
Yeah.
But also are not, because the other options they have is like being burnt as a witch and like horrible things, you know, like these other communities, these other countries, I guess, around, they don't treat their Grisha well at all. So that's why they go to Ravka. So of course there's going to be like this underground network or something like that. And I absolutely love how it's connected to the prince.
Yeah.
That I really enjoy because he's presented as a very intelligent man, which makes sense because he's given the best education that he possibly can.
Yeah.
He's given like all these resources and stuff like that, right? So he's a very intelligent man. And the fact that he made that jump of like, okay, I see how the Grisha are treated and like, I wouldn't want to be treated like that.
Yeah.
So there's got to be people who are out there that are just living under wraps. And somehow he manages to find a way to them and earn their trust and create this like militia of Grisha.
Yeah.
But, I didn't intend on doing that. But this Grisha militia that's like undercover and underground. I love that. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
That I really enjoy because if you present that idea that there's these like classes of people and all this sort of stuff and like different powers and stuff, it makes logical sense in a magical way.
Yeah.
That there would be offshoots of that. And I absolutely adore that they brought that out and that the scene where they discover that, the fight scene on the boat, fucking loved that scene. I loved that so much.
Yeah.
Because I was not
the reveal?
like Ivan and like his heartrending shit and then like totally all like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna crush your heart. Boom.
Yeah.
Like,
well, guess what? I have that power too, son.
So
yeah.
Right? It's like, what you gonna do now?
Yeah. And I'm like, when that reveal came on the boat, I was like, this is so good. Finally, we have a good naval battle. Like, yes.
Yeah. It was awesome. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That part was one of my favorite parts of the book, to be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's your next check mark?
So I have a lot more check marks. I have like 95 other check marks, but I'll end it on this.
Yeah, I hear you. I gotta stop on something, right?
So I'll end it on this. The relationship between Mal and what's her name? Mal and
Alina?
No, yeah, Mal and
Alina?
Alina. The evolution of that. I love how she didn't give it to me in this book. She alluded to, yes, I'm going to give it to you in this book. And she's like, nah, no, I'm not. I love that. And I love the evolution of that. Like, why? Like, you want to know, like, why don't they just, like, get together? But there's so much logical stuff. It's not like, all the stuff doesn't make sense. No, what's keeping them apart makes sense. She's becoming
like actually life.
Yeah,
they're in a boarding house with like 1 million people around.
Yeah,
you're in a ship.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then at the end, he is a soldier at heart, and he doesn't like to be kept up in a palace. But she's becoming something where she's not that person that he loved. She's turning into a different person. That person that
I think that's a big theme across all the books.
Yeah. That person,
she's becoming a different person.
Yeah,
right?
that person that he loved is not her anymore. She's confident. Yeah. She is. She's getting more confident, more certain, and she's evolving. I'm recalling a passage in a famous comic book from "With great power comes great responsibility." Yeah, and I think that is executed not great in the book, but well enough that that message gets through. Where she can't be with him because she has all this responsibility, but she wants to be with him, but at the same time, to protect him, you can't be with. I just love that, and I love the torture. She puts me through so much torture in the book, and I'm like, there's so many times, and I'm like, just do it, just like I think they only kissed once in the book, like just a couple of times in the book, and I'm like, oh, that's so good. She didn't. And I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna give it to you. I'm not, because of these reasons.
The tension.
Yeah, there's tension many times, and it keeps them back for very logical reasons, right?
Yeah.
He just wants her back, but she's not that person anymore. She wants her, but she knows she can't have him, because if she does, she'll put everybody, including him, in great danger.
Yeah.
And I
I think that's, sorry, please continue.
And I think, while not executed great by no means in the book, but I think it was executed well, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, I love, there's this tension even within the books of Alina wanting, like, literally, she's like, all I want to do is go be with them and escape all this craziness and just be normal.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
But she has this power that she's discovered.
Yeah.
And there's that part of her that's like, this actually feels good. Should I be worried about that?
Yeah.
Should I, like, what's going on there? And then, like, of course, responsibility is thrust on her, and the Nikolai or Stormhound, he's like, well, what about your country? What about, that sort of the greater, grander scheme of things, right? And Mal is very much, he honestly couldn't give a fucking shit less about the country, but Alina is there and she has to be, and that's what she wants to do. So he's
Yeah.
like, okay, we'll do it, but
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to want me after.
Yeah.
You know, like, and he sees it for very much what it is, but he's like, I can't not follow you, though. I love you. I have to, like, I will follow you, but I don't think you're going to want to be with me after all of this is done.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
Right?
it really is. I just wanted them to jump on each other at one point. Like, just jump on each other. Like, just, I'm like, oh, this is going down.
Oh.
Like candles.
Yeah.
But I like that. So what's your last check mark, if you have a last check mark?
I have so many more check marks.
Yeah, me too. I have, like, before I came on, I'm like, okay, I have like 95 check marks. Like,
you know what? I'm gonna jump off of what you said.
Yeah.
There is something that I want to say about that, but I do have one other check mark.
Okay.
So with their relationship too, because it's like there's this struggle of Alina wanting to just be like, can I not just live a normal life and
Yeah.
be happy?
Yeah.
Because she's like, she just wants that happiness that she had back at childhood. Like that's what she wants to get back. And there's something so sweet about that.
Yeah.
But with the power as well, she realized that her entire life she's been like this sickly person
Yeah.
who can't do these things.
Yeah.
And it's because she's keeping her power away.
Yeah.
It's locked away deep down inside. And then when she's with Mal, when she's doing the humdrum thing, okay, maybe we can escape, she has to not use her power.
Yeah.
And therefore, she's not as strong as she was beforehand. So it's like, you know, she would love to go run in the fields with Mal, but if she's going to do that, she has to give up being a Grisha, and that's going to make her sick, and mean she can't actually run in the fields.
Yeah.
Right? So I think there's a beautiful poetry there, and there's also, like, there's something to be said for the relationship that they have, because it's, you know, it's very much like, oh, I love you too, you know, and he does ask those challenging questions of like, okay, well, you want to do this, but when's it going to end? You're going after all this power. You're not turning into someone I don't know. I'm still going to follow you.
Yeah.
But when is it going to end? You know, and it's like, is a partner like that something that you want?
Yeah.
Like, is a partner someone instead that would be like, I can't follow you down this route because you're changing yourself. You're changing like who you are and what I love. Or is it like this love that you're going to love them no matter who they are, and they're going to change multiple times in their life? Like, it brings up questions, and I like that. I like when relationships and books and just, you know, circumstances bring up questions for you, and it makes you think.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting how they have that whole conundrum of like, well, if she's not practicing her magic, not using it, and then she becomes more sickly. And when she's not practicing is when she's with Mal. So it's like it's interesting. Yeah. But the last check mark that I do absolutely have to mention, and I really liked, is the humanization of the I'm gonna butcher this, but the
Nichevoya?
The like nothing.
The monsters?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, in the fold, when they go to the fold,
you
know, Alina has these like troubling thoughts to her because they are, they track them down. Yeah. And it's like she notes, you know, oh, Mal can track them, like they're animals, like they're, you know, they're like us, you know, and she hears their screams, and there's something human about those screams. Yeah.
Oh, you mean the Volcra? The Volcra.
The Volcra, yes, the Volcra.
Silly LB, tricks are for kids.
My bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'll put the cereal down. But yeah, the humanization of those characters, or not characters, but like monsters, really. So, like, and that adds even more to this story being not black and white, but gray, right? Because you have this evil that's happening, but he's just a man that's been living for a very long time and trying to cope with this stuff, and he's made a mistake, and he's trying to, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's understandable how he can get this way, and even if it's not, he was in love. Was he in love? Is it like, you know, like, there's questions that are there. And so I really love that whole big question mark around the fold of like, okay, what did this come from? How did he turn, like, did he turn these people into this stuff? And it's like, there's literally nothing in the fold to eat. So when people come, it's like, well, this is the only thing we have to eat.
Yeah.
And we can't survive out of here. So I guess we have to eat them.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right? So it's like, I really enjoyed the fact that was brought up, and she's having like moral dilemmas about it because, and I'm going to talk about this in my exes, but because, you know, she was someone that stood before the fag and was like, I need to kill this or I'm going to get killed. And she was like, I'm not going to kill this.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like she's being turned into this weapon, and she's discovered this cut power or whatever. And she's trying to figure out, it's like, I just killed a whole bunch of those monsters and I feel bad.
Yeah.
And I've been brought up my entire life to believe these things are terrible, terrible things.
Yeah.
Like, she's understanding the complexity of it. So I think that's really cool because, you know, a lot of different things, this book could be far more simplified in the way that it's written and the way that it's thought out. And it could just be there are these monsters in the fold and this dark magician created them.
Yeah.
And he's out to get Alina, and Alina is struggling with her love interest and her power.
Yeah.
The end, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But there's those parts that are put in of like, they're human.
There's so many layers.
She thinks about that.
Yeah.
So exactly. Yeah. It's layered, and I love.
Yeah.
That. I love that.
That's mwah. That's what I love too. Yeah. Chef kiss. So let's go to our X's. And I started the check marks. Usually you start the check marks. Start us off with your first X.
Okay. You're not going to like it.
Okay.
But this freaking prince dressed up as a pirate. So.
You mean like the prince?
It just irritated me so much. Yeah, the Nikolai Stormhond.
Okay.
It bothered me so much because, like, I love pirates. This is not a surprise.
Yeah.
And so we have this mysterious pirate figure, and he is very pirate-esque in his initial presentation.
He's a privateer.
Dude.
He's a privateer. He's not a pirate.
Right?
He's a privateer.
He's a fucking pirate.
He's a privateer.
But anyway, like, he's, you know, he steps in, he's like, there's not going to be torture of a girl on my boat.
Yeah.
And then he, like, steps back.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to escort you to your cell, but you're still, like, in the cell.
Yeah.
Baby. Right?
Yeah.
Obviously, he has another plan.
Yeah.
Which, like, I love that. I love those characters. I love them so much. I love nautical battles and privateers and pirates and swashbuckling and all that sort of stuff. So I loved it, and I loved his character. But when he, like, reveals himself as the young prince that no one's heard of, that, like, gossip has been going around, that, you know, blah, blah, blah. It was just, like, I kind of saw it coming, because it was like, okay, we have a contract in the thing. And I was like, okay, who is this going to be? Some random person or royal? Like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Maybe it's like the mysterious young guy. Who knows? Yeah. And then it's like he's got this flying machine, and there's rumors that he was studying aviation. There's rumors, like, it's just, it matches up well, and I like that she did that. I like that it matched up. It wasn't just like, huzzah, there's this person. Yeah. Come back, and he's in the story now. Yeah. Like, I liked how he was depicted. Yeah. It just frustrated me so goddamn much that you have this pirate dude, and then literally he, like, changes his face so that he looks more handsome, like a prince, and then he's in this prince role. Yeah. And it's so irritating. It's like, why could you not just keep... I get it. I understand he had, like, and there's this idea of the tailors, and so, of course, like, something like that. But it just frustrates me so much. Yep. I do like how in the book, though, Alina's like, I liked Stormhond better. Yeah. Like, I don't like you as a prince. Yeah. That is a trope in and of itself. Yeah. The love triangle and the mysterious stranger coming out as a prince and all that sort of stuff. Such a trope. And it, like, when I read it, I was like, of course. Yeah. But it's not, like, executed, though. Slightly. Yeah. However, characters, well, like, all the reactions is presented well. Their interactions are good. Yeah. It just, I so irritated. I was like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
I
Do
mean,
it?
listen,
Really?
I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna counterpoint because I
No.
do think Stormhond is written where there's no like gray area. Either you like the character or you don't, and you can see either side of, yeah, I could see how you like this character, and I could see how you would not be particularly fuzzy to the character. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna argue. It's totally a subjective thing. So
Yeah. I love the character.
yeah.
I just really hated that it was like there was.
I get it. The
reveal,
reveal,
like,
yeah.
just,
The
yeah,
reveal,
oh my God.
like I mean, I get it. I understand. Like
Yeah.
I guess I should have rephrased it. Good. Either you liked the reveal or didn't like the reveal.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that character was not written the way he was, I would have hated that reveal. But since the character was written
So
like
that's
good,
fair, right?
yeah,
Because like I think you're just kind of like you're accepting. It's like, yeah, this is in here. That's fine. Like it's a story trope. For me, I'm like, motherfucker, get out of here with your tropes.
yeah, yeah.
Which is fine. It's fine. I'm fine.
I guess I didn't see it. I didn't see it coming for me, because
I didn't see it coming.
No, I didn't see it coming.
Like looking back, I was like, of course it is.
I didn't see it coming in the fact that Lee Bardugo by this point already threw in a curveball to me, and that's why I just said, all right, I'm not going to assume anything, because every time I think something's going to happen, something doesn't happen or something goes the other way. So that's why I didn't assume that. And I get it, but at the same time, I'm not going to argue it. I mean, you didn't like it, you didn't like it. So, anyway, my first X is the fucking Sea Whip.
Oh my God. It's my next X too, so let's hash this out, please.
It was introduced,
Yep.
You introduce the color, and then you're like, oh, there's another thing out there. It's called a Sea Whip. And then you build it up for a few pages, and then it's just there. And then you kill it. And then why? So many things are going on in that scene already, right? And it's just, unless she's going to have some ridiculous, I wouldn't have introduced it. I just wouldn't have introduced it. It's like Pokemon.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to catch them all here.
She did get this ridiculous power by the end of the book.
That's
how she could, turn the power in on him. I'll argue that, but I will not argue that I am so fucking frustrated with the Sea Whip.
I just, it's just, if it was built up a little bit more, I could understand it, but it's built up literally for 2 pages, okay? My problem is the fact that you already have a lot going on. You're already introducing a lot, right? She's on the she's on the boat, okay? The swerve is about to come, okay? And you introduce a Sea Whip. It's just, I don't get it. I just hated it. I'm like, why? You're writing, this is a trope that I will admit it's in the book to gather more power for this one character. Yeah. But I will still maintain it was a stupid thing. I still don't like it.
I agree.
And it was just introduced there just because she needed like a MacGuffin. It wasn't.
Yeah,
it's just a MacGuffin. That's all the dragon is. A MacGuffin. That's it. Rosalia is only a MacGuffin. That's it. It's not built up at all. It's just built out with a few sentences, a few moments of dialogue, and that's it. That's it. And I hated how she went up with Mal and they kill it. What happened to the stag? You didn't want to kill the stag, But you wanted to kill the sea whip?
Yes. Oh my
Why?
God. Okay. So
Why?
my big thing with this, there's literally, I went and looked it up because I am frustrated with this entire thing.
Yeah.
But
I just don't get it. LB, I don't get it.
Literally 77 pages.
Yeah.
Okay? 77 pages is when the sea whip is dead.
Yeah.
And it's like, so in under 100 pages, in the first section of your book, you've introduced the idea that something that you introduced as an absolute truth in your previous book is a lie.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot just for her or something special, which is okay, fine. Everybody does it, so like whatever. But then it's like, oh, we're going to hunt this other mythical beast. And it's like, for the entirety of the last book, you had Mal hunting and finding this thing. And it was a whole big adventure. And like people died. And like it was like this whole massive thing for the entire thing. And then at the end, we get this. Now, I understand not wanting basically to repeat the first book with a different creature. I understand that. I get that, like, she can't do that, and I'm very glad that they didn't do that. It makes sense to have it in the book. It's just super frustrating that it's like, oh, there's another creature. Oh my God. And you're going to track it. Oh my God. And 2 days later, we found it. Oh my God. And like, you know, and it's just like everything happens so fucking fast. There's no significance given to it.
No.
And then, I mean, I can see two sides to this of like, they've captured the sea whip. It's on the pirate ship. Thing is going to hell over there. They've just driven away. And now it's like, okay, so this is going to be your next amplifier. And this is going to be a massive journey of like, are you going to make this your amplifier? Are you going to do that? Or
are you going to keep it alive, right? That could have been cool. That could have been...
Like she did with the stag.
Yeah.
That could have been badass. Are you kidding me? An ice dragon is on your team?
Oh, dude, yes.
Right? Like, I see the start of this, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah.
There's going to be an ice dragon.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited. And then it's here for like 2 pages.
Yeah, and then it's dead.
It's very annoying. Yeah, right? So the other thing with this is that the ice, like, the sea whip, it's like, we have this mythology around it, like we had for the stag, and it's supposed to be this previous prince or whatever, and there's sort of like hints towards going towards that, and then she just fucking kills it.
Yeah.
Now I get what I can argue, or I can make an argument for, if you will. This is not the same Alina that we saw in the meadow with the stag.
Yeah.
This is an Alina that made her choice with that stag to keep it alive, and she got fucked over by that.
Yeah.
You know, like she got controlled, like this didn't happen.
Yeah.
Shit went down. And so I can understand why she would be like, not happening again. I only managed to get out of that because of this stupid wish thing, which I had issues with last book anyway.
Yeah.
But so it's like, so she makes that snap decision. It's like, well, we're so close, and he just attacked us like after leaving him, and he almost had this in his hand, killed it and put it on me to like completely destroy me and use me as a weapon.
Yeah.
I've got to do this.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I do like that it's like there is character arc, if you will, of her killing it and collecting the scales, and her making the decision to actually turn it into a amplifier.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate that that's in there. Otherwise it would have been like, yeah, okay, it's dead, amplify me up.
Yeah.
It would be like, this is not the same character. She makes that decision. It's a turmoil for her. It's a turning point. And I guess she feels it because she's like, well, if I don't do this now, I'm not going to have this chance again. Someone else is going to kill this. I can't use this as an amplifier.
Yeah.
So it's like keeping her options open, kind of, by killing this magnificent creature.
Yeah.
But it's so frustrating to me that it's like, okay, we found this thing now, and this team of harpooners is going to stab it and bring it aboard, and it has no magical properties, got no defense systems. There's nothing that really happens. That's like I think a boat gets crushed or something, and like they die.
Yeah.
It's like these offhand people.
Yeah.
So frustrating.
Yeah.
And also the fact that it's like, oh, and now there's another animal. Like, of course there's another fucking animal because you gotta have 3 books.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just, it irritated me so much. And you could have done so much cool shit with that. And
Yeah.
they had this whole mythology for it. And like, how are you going to do that?
Trying
like,
to protect it and stuff like that. And then at the end, yeah,
right?
it's just like, not that I like, I'm not gonna, yeah, it makes me, it's like, I just, why? There's already so much going on.
The book and like the things work and I can go past it and it's fine, but it does piss me off.
Yeah. So what's your next? Oh, that was your ex, right? So
that was my ex as well. When you said the C-whip, literally I have in my book X the C-whip.
So my second I actually have two more X's. Okay.
Okay.
My second X is the Nichivoya. It's introduced so cool. Like it's great and it's awesome when it's introduced. Mm-hmm. And then it's like the logic in this is like it takes a bit of him to summon it, and I like that. I really do. Except the ending. There's millions of these things, like ants. And I'm like, he should be dead. Like, he should be dead.
What kills him?
What? But
that's what kills him, is that she, like, lends their power and forces him to make, like, a shit ton of them.
Yeah, but, like, until that point, they're just, like, the Volcra. They're just fodder for in this book, and when it's introduced, I liked it. I'm like, oh my god, this is like a super powerful tool for him to use, and it's like every time he uses it, like it takes a little bit of him, and then when the attack happens, it's not with anybody else. It's just with millions and millions of Nichivoya, and I'm like, okay, if we're going on the assumption that this kills him, he should be dead. Like, there's like nothing that you could say, as great as the ending is, all this stuff. I'm just thinking logically. There's no way he should.
Yeah, I agree.
There's, like, if there was, like...
He should have been, like, bleeding or
something,
because, like, he's supposed to be this all-powerful thing.
Yeah.
But it's, like, even in the beginning...
Yeah.
There's supposed to be hints of it, right? Like, Alina's like, maybe I saw that he was a little bit tired or something. Maybe that's from it. And it's like, maybe he learns his power more and it, like, strengthens him, but it also takes away from him.
Yeah.
They had Grisha, which I guess is, like, they should have used that more.
Yeah.
Maybe that's going to come in later. Who knows?
And it's just like, if it was, like, 100... then I would understand. I would totally understand. But it's a lot like I'm like, okay, well, how, like, he should be dead. He should be dead at this point. And for me, it's like, that was a cool moment where, like, oh, hell is breaking loose. And I'm like, wait a minute. Right? Like, it would have been more better if that were to happen. And at the end, he's like, he's coming in and he's like that. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to drain the last bits of life from his body.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that would have essentially did the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's...
Or maybe the argument is, like, it's sort of like Voldemort's Horcruxes, right?
Yeah.
Like, it kills him, but they still exist.
Yeah.
And when they don't exist, that's when, like, the life gets drained out of it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's sort of how it was like...
Well, yeah.
And then it's like, oh, you're producing way more than you can actually support.
Yeah. But, to me, when you introduce, like, ants of them, to me, it lowers the threat level of what they look like and stuff like that. I mean, they still are badass and everything. I'm just saying, the ending of them, like, there's like a billion, there's like a million. That, to me, that just, if I gotta put X there, that's my X. I have one more X after your X.
I have one more X as well.
Oh, okay. Well, let's hear your X.
I mean, it's sort of similar to what you were saying. It's just, I have like an X with a question mark beside it because I'm like, I'm not too sure how how much I hated it, but
Okay.
like at the very end with the black magic folding in on itself, it wasn't like, to be honest, as I was reading it, it wasn't like super clear to me what was happening. Like maybe it was because I was reading and it was late at night, who knows? But it wasn't super clear to me like what exactly is going on. It was like, okay, they're kissing and she's like getting her power amplified, and she's like, haha, I use it against you,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And then we have like a cave in, and then she wakes up and she doesn't have her powers.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of frustrating because it doesn't, like, I was a little bit lost when I was reading it, and I never like to feel like I'm out of the loop when I'm reading something. Maybe I just didn't catch something, I don't know. But the other thing, like, I'll say it, but I'm not mad about it. In this book and in this series, I can see it being set up of Alina slowly grabbing more power and that being alluring, and her basically going over the dark side, right? Because she's using this sort of power and she's not supposed to.
Yeah.
Such a trope. So it's like, oh my God, do we really have to? However, I recognize stories are put together and these tropes exist because they're like familiar things that we can play on, and it's how you play within them that makes it so extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's just frustrating to me that it's like she gained all this power and she was able to use it against him in a way, and that's it. So it's like,
I would love it. Actually, I would love that. Like, if she uses that power and she becomes evil and he becomes good.
Well, I think that's what we're alluding to here later. I don't think it's going to be he becomes good. I think it's just she's going to become evil.
Yeah.
And like maybe he's, I have no fucking.
Yeah.
Maybe this is how he extends his life so far, is that he actually like pushes his presence into another person.
Yeah. For sure.
Or what have you,
I could definitely see that happening. Also, I would love, and I don't like to assume with Lee Bardugo, because every time I assume, she just we could be not thinking of a possibility, and she'd be like, oh, I'm gonna do this. It could be like, I would love, but this is me just spitballing. Like, it could be a situation where she, and in that moment, like, she and her, like, switch perspectives, right? Like, they are, I don't know, like, they absorb, I don't know how it would work, but I would think it'd be so cool if, like, this next book comes up, and I'm like, oh, you know what? She's evil now, and he is totally good. And I'll be like, what? But that's I
don't think he's going to be totally good.
Yeah, no.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what's good. And that's
what I think.
Yeah.
And you know what? I do ultimately like it because it makes talk about this sort of stuff. And like, ooh, what's going to happen here? And like, oh, what's that? Instead of being like, oh yeah, of course it's going to happen. So what I think though, because there's a moment in here where Alina's like questioning herself and like going after these amplifiers and stuff.
Yeah.
And she looks at like the saint image or whatever. Yeah. And she notes that she's like, well, he's a saint, and like these animals are alive around him. They're not dead around him, they're alive around him.
Yeah.
So what is that deal? And she like has this thought to herself of like, well, maybe I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah. And
I like that within there, and I think that sort of alludes to what's going to happen in the last one. Is we have this phoenix, we have this firebird that's like supposedly in all of the ancient traditions or whatever, all of the mythology.
Yeah.
It's like, how the fuck are we going to find that? So it's like this bird of Ravka, right? It's it's the emblem of Russia or Ravka or whatever you want to say. And so I think that bird is like actually like a protectorate over something.
Yeah.
And if you kill it, that's going to unleash this ultimate darkness kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so she's like, she now doesn't have her power.
Yeah.
And she knows she can amplify it by killing these animals, and you know, that can jumpstart things. So maybe she's going to turn evil because she thinks she has to kill this phoenix, and she ends up unleashing her ungodly power, and she's fucked up.
Yeah, I would really like. I would like that. I would literally like to see that.
That's where I kind of think things are going, or I think there's going to be some sort of dilemma with like finding the Firebird, and then do I kill it? Do I not? Was I supposed to kill these things?
Yeah.
Like what is this? Some propaganda for other people, like to not have these magical beings that are actually, guardians or such.
Yeah, I would.
So I think that's going to come back to play.
Yeah, I would like to either way. Actually, jumping off my last X, it's a minor X. It's a minor X. Stormhawn's brother. I know why he's there. I get it. I understand it.
Yeah.
He's just there. He doesn't add anything. I know why he has to be there. He's there to be an idiot, and he's there to, like, trigger the major event. But he's just fucking there. It just, like, you did such a good job with these characters. Can you sprinkle in something?
Yeah.
He's just fucking there. And it's like, he has go away heat with me. And I'm like, go away. Go away. Go away. So that's my last X.
Yeah, you know what? I completely forgot about his existence.
Yep.
And that should speak volumes. I agree. I think he's very frustrating, and Lee can do such a better job of creating complex characters.
Yeah.
He did not need to be like the stupid idiot that he is.
Yeah. So,
and also how he's responsible for like allowing. Okay, well, first off, with that as well, with the like how the war starts.
Yeah.
Like as you say, it's all these like Nichevyoya.
Yeah.
And like barely any Grisha, and it's like he's moving this army through. Where the fuck is the actual army that he's brought? That's annoying.
Yeah.
First off. And second of all, like, yeah, the prince is an idiot, but they've made him out to be like this bigoted idiot.
Yeah.
So why would he then be thinking like, oh, I'm so smart, I've made a deal with our sworn enemies? Like, what the fuck? No.
Yeah.
He would not, like, no. He would not think that that's a smart idea. Like, you can't, he's an idiot, but you can't tell me that he fell for that. Like, and even in the book, his, like, Stormhawn, the brother, like, you can't be fucking serious, right? And it's like, yeah, you know what? Like,
you murdered us all. Great job.
Like, I understand there had to be a surprise attack. There had to, like, they're gearing up for this massive, like, army and stuff, and they've, like, barely got a fighting chance if they have an alert and that sort of thing, and then there is a surprise attack. So, like, of course that has to happen. And it's so frustrating. I agree. He could have been written so much better.
Yeah. Anyway, I have a lot more X's, but that I will end with that. So, do you have a last X, or are you good?
I don't really have. Yeah, I don't really have any more X's in here.
All right.
I mean, something that I would have liked to see, and this is just purely like on a me thing, and I think there was opportunity for it in the book, and that's why I bring it up. There's like no LGBTQ plus people whatsoever in here, and it's frustrating because there's moments in there where you can totally have that, it would make sense, but it's not. And like, I don't know, coming from a gay perspective, like looking at this, I'm like, oh, they're not.
I don't think it's. I mean, I don't think it's like. I don't think it's necessary.
That's
in
like
this...
the tiniest thing. It doesn't take away from the story. It's just like you said. You know, is there anything else? I'm like, if I had to pick something, you know, I'd say that. But
for sure, yeah. So anyway, it's time for final judgment time. Yay or nay, LB? Are you thumbs up or thumbs down? Recommend or not recommend?
Well, I can't in my right mind recommend this. I'm joking. No, I definitely recommend this book. I don't
wait,
think
I
it
have
has
to
the
wait.
same appeal as-
I have to clutch the wall. You're giving me a heart attack now. Okay. You totally went left. You're like, I am not. I'm like, oh my
How
god.
about you? Yay or nay?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm giving this. But I'm gonna let you finish your thought, and then I'll start my thought.
Yeah, I can't I mean, it's a trilogy. Second book in the trilogy, in my opinion, is always the weakest book. So I wasn't. Honestly, I wasn't. I was looking forward to this. I opened it the day that we finished talking about the first book.
Yeah.
But so I was definitely looking forward to it, but with apprehension because I was like, please don't fuck this up.
Yeah.
And I don't think she did. I think she did a great job at a second book in a trilogy. It flows well from the first. It will, I'm assuming, flow well into the second. It's a good book. I think it definitely has some flaws, and it's not as good as the first book. But it's still a great book.
Oh, I completely disagree with you. I thought the second book was better than the first book. I do think there's
really?
I thought this hit all the beats it needed to hit. Did it have some problems? Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. It had some problems, and we just talked about those problems. But I think the positives for me outweigh the negatives.
I agree. I totally agree.
And I just think, I know. Last time I did this, last time I talked about a second book, last time I liked it. I know. Don't screw me on this. Don't Bardugo. Don't screw me on this.
We'll see. It has some really interesting places where it can go.
Yeah,
I'm intrigued.
And that's the thing. I think, are there tropes in here? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But those tropes that she introduces, she makes you think she's going. You're like, okay, I know where this, and then she goes another direction, and that's what I like. And it went places that I didn't think this book was going to go. It hit beats I didn't think this book was going to hit. And for all those reasons and more, I'm giving this a recommend. I'm giving this the old caveman thumbs up. So we want to know.
I didn't realize before.
Yeah.
And I didn't say.
Okay.
But the first book, it happened all in Ravka. We talked about this in the last one, and it just popped into my head. But the first book happened all in Ravka, and we were well established in there. Second book starts on the sea. And we've got a lot of seafaring stuff. And then we come back to the court and all that sort of shit.
Yeah.
But we have that sort of section. And then the third book is looking like it's set up to be in this underground cavern system.
Yeah.
With potentially air travel being a thing. So I like how she's playing with elements and geography, because not a lot of authors do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of like if they do move around the town, it's the same town, it's just in the north. You know, it's cold now, it's summery now.
Yeah.
But she's actually moving, this is now in naval stuff. Now this is going to be underground. So I think I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued to see what the third one has in store.
All right, guys. So that's our thoughts and opinions on the second book in the Grisha trilogy. Next episode is going to be the last episode of season 2. So I guess me and LB will be discussing on the Christmas break or before then what season 3 is going to look like. There's absolutely, I think we can agree there's absolutely going to be a season 3. Because you guys are liking this stuff so much. But I'm going to get the outro, and I'll be back. Oh, before we go, we will... the page. We'll see you next time. We'll turn the page. LB just said it, and I just put on the mic. But I'm going to get the outro, and I'll be back. So, guys, that will do it for this episode of The Page. That will do it for the week. So, the next time I'll see you on Monday with a brand new episode of Final Countdown Top 10 Pixar Movies. Until then, my friends, take care, be safe, be well, and we love you. 90 million thousand. Peace.